Hi, I'm Beth, creator of DryItCanIt.com. I like to share recipes and how-tos for dehydrated food and canning food, and today we're going to talk about canning peaches. Now, I recently completed a video on dehydrating peaches, but having canned peaches is great also. And I'm going to water bath these today. So to start with, I want to get the skins off, and to do that, I'm going to put my peaches into some hot water for about 30 to 60 seconds. Now normally I would do this on the stove top, but since I have a video here, it's easier to do it this way. But then I'm going to let those soak for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to put them in a bowl of cold water. Now ice water is best. I have some refrigerated water, so that's what I'm using. To this, I added some citric acid. Now you can use lemon juice instead, but what you want to do is put your peaches, once they're cut, into some kind of an acidic water, and that will keep them from getting brown. I used 1 teaspoon of the citric acid for 4 cups of water. So I have 12 cups of water here, and I have 3 teaspoons of citric acid in there dissolved. So the first step obviously is to take your peaches, check them for blemishes, cut out any bad spots, or put the peach aside and just don't even use it. And then wash your peaches. Once you wash your peaches, you want to put them in boiling water or simmering water for about 30 to 60 seconds. Now again, I have a hot pot here, simply because it's easier to show you. And I'm going to take those peaches out now, and I'm going to put them in this cold water. And that will do 2 things. It will help the skins start separating from the peach, but it will also cool the peach so that I can actually handle it, because even sitting for those few minutes, it gets pretty hot. So I'm gonna let those cool for just a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to skin those. And as I skin them, I'm going to put them back in this citric water. Now, I could just use a bowl of water, cold water, to put these in, and then put my sliced peaches in something, but I just don't have another bowl to show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to take my peaches out of here, and the other ones that I'm going to do, I will do separate, but I think for purposes of this video, I just need to share this. So to slice or to remove the skin from your peaches, what you want to do is identify your stem end, which is going to be the one with the indentation. Put your paring knife on there, and then just turn your peach right around that pit, or that seed, so to speak. Then do it the opposite direction, so you're essentially quartering your peach. Turn it around like so, and then pull your peach apart. So the peach will still be a little bit warm, and that's okay. And the last one usually will have the seed on it, and you just want to pull that seed back. Then you'll have 2 ends. You'll have the cut end, and you'll have an end that's indented where your stem was. Go to that stem end and grab the skin and just start pulling it off. Now, because we soaked these peaches, we can really almost just scrape this off. Let me show you here. See how that's just removing really nicely? So I'm pulling all of those off, and then I'm going to slice my peaches in chunks or slices, or however I want to have them for canning. I'm actually choosing to slice mine, and I'm going to take each one of my quarters and put them into thirds. So essentially I'm going to get 12 slices of peach, 12 slices per peach. So again, I'm just pulling my skin off. Sometimes you can just take a knife under and it'll pull in just one piece, like this one is. Like so, and don't mind that, that is just my canner with my jars being heated. And again, I'm just going to take and I'm going to slice my quarters into 3 slices. So again, I have my slice of peach, I have the edge there, and then I have the indented, that's where the stem is, and that's where I want to grab. And I'm just going to remove that skin, and oftentimes it'll just pull off like it is currently, so you don't really have to lose any of the fruit. So it's a little bit of a tedious task, but not a difficult task by any means. Now, do be careful when you're cutting your knife into your hand. I'm pretty careful about that. And I don't recommend that. You should probably put that on a cutting board. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to take off the skin of all my peaches. I'm going to quarter each of the quarters, or I should say put a third out of each of the quarters. And then when I have all that done, I'll be back and show you how I get the syrup ready and how I jar up the peaches. All right, my peaches are all skinned. They're all cut up. I cut my peaches. They were fairly large peaches, so I cut each peach really into 12 pieces. I quartered it, then cut each of those quarters into 3 pieces. I have about a dozen large peaches. It took me about 25 minutes to get them dipped in the hot water, dipped in the cold water, take the skins off, and to go ahead and cut them into thirds. But as you can see, I have a beautiful bowl of peaches. They're nice and yellow, and that's the difference having an acid water is going to do. Peaches are going to turn brown very quickly, more so I think than even apples or bananas. So because it takes a while to get everything prepped, don't skip this step. I think it's a really important step. The other thing I did, as a side note, is I took some of that water and I actually took all of my skins, most of my skins, and put them in a separate bowl. I'm going to put that in the refrigerator, and I'm going to dehydrate those later once I get everything jarred up. And the reason I'm going to do that is because those skins make a really flavorful peach powder. I'm going to dehydrate it, grind it into a powder, and I'm going to make some peach ice cream this winter. That'll be a really nice treat. All right, so the next step after you have all of your peaches prepped is to get your syrup ready. Now, you can can your peaches whole, half, slices, chunks, however you want to cut them up. You can also can them in plain water, light syrup, medium, heavy, extra heavy, whatever your preference is. Mine is sort of between medium and heavy. I like a sweet peach. I used to do them in light water or in, water or light syrup. And I just felt like that took something out of the peaches. So I use a medium to heavy syrup on that. So the ratio for me, and again, this is not the official ratio, but I use 5 cups of water to 3 cups of sugar. I know that's a lot of sugar, but I happen to like it that way. And if you think about it, oftentimes you'll eat your peach plain or you'll eat it plain, but you have to keep in mind that these are in a liquid. So because they're in a liquid, you're going to want to probably sweeten them unless you want to prepare them in water, which is up to you. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to do. So my next step is to bring this liquid to a boil. I have the water and I have the sugar in there, and I'll stir that until it's dissolved. I'll bring it to a boil. When it's almost to a boil, I'm going to take and I'm going to drain these. I'm going to rinse them off quickly in cold water, and then when this is boiling, I'm going to add the peaches back into this liquid. I'm going to bring this liquid to a boil, and as soon as it comes to a boil with the peaches in it, then I'm going to take it off the heat and start filling my jars. So stay tuned, and I will show you the next steps. The peaches are now in the syrup, and I gave them a good rinse before I put them in the bowl. And I gave them a good stir, and now I will just let this come to a boil before I start putting them in the jars. My peaches have been put in the syrup and they've come to a boil. Don't confuse a simmer with a boil. A simmer is where the water or the liquid is barely breaking the surface, and a boil is where it has a lot of bubble action. When your peaches are actually boiling, you'll have almost a soap sud looking environment. You'll have lots of white bubbles on it, and you'll have bubbles really rolling on the top. So it's important that you do that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to jar up my peaches. Now remember, I put mine in slices, but you can slice them whole, you can slice them in halves, quarters, whatever you want to do. But the next step really is just going to be to put the hot peaches into the hot jar. Now, peaches are a fairly acidic fruit. They kind of average between 3.5 and maybe 4 for pH. So we don't really worry too much about botulism with this. But the other reason I like to have a good sugar environment is because botulism is not supported in a sugar environment. So this is pretty safe canning, providing that you can for the appropriate amount of time, whether it's pressure bath or whether it's water bath or pressure canning. So what you want to do is you want to have your head space at about a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to add just a few more slices here, and we'll see where we're at. And that's about 1 inch, so I actually want just a little bit more. So you'll kind of play with this depending upon the size of your peaches. So I have a dozen large peaches, and we'll see how many I get. Little tip is to have a plate available to put your utensils so that your cupboards don't get so sticky. Now with fruits that have sugar, I generally don't use a vinegar wipe to wipe my lids. I use just plain water. So take a clean towel and wipe all the way around that lid. That jar is hot. I'm gonna do that a second time because I can feel that being pretty sticky. The secret to getting a good seal on all your canned products is to make sure that that lip is really clean. So then I use a magnetic pickup so that I don't get my oils, my hand oils on there. You want to center that like so, and then put the screw band on just finger tight. And actually that's hot enough that I don't even want to pick it up. Then I'm going to put that in my pressure canner, and I'm going to bring out the next jar. So I'm going to keep filling my jars. This is something that took about a half an hour for all of these to come up to temperature, to boiling. It's going to vary for you depending upon the size of peaches, depending upon how many you're canning, depending upon the size of your pot even. So again, I'm working with just 12 peaches today, and I expect probably to get about 4 pints with that. And pints are good size for my family. You definitely can can these, pressure can these, or you can water bath them. It's really whatever your preference is. I just realized I forgot to debubble my jar, so I'll have to take that back out. But again, you need to follow the directions on the canner that you're using, because a weighted canner, a dial canner, an electric canner are all going to have different sets of directions for time. I'm using an electric canner, an electric pressure canner, and I'm water bathing. And so for me, it's going to be 25 minutes today. But you need to check the directions on your particular item. And bear with me because I need to get something to debubble here. Debubbling is an important step no matter what you're canning. That allows for the air to get out, and the air getting out of your jar is really important because that's really what gives you the seal, what gives you the tight seal in terms of making sure that your food is canned properly. So again, debubble. I'm taking my other jar out and making sure that I debubble that. Put your lid on, finger tight, and then into your canner. Now remember, today's lids, most of them do not need to be done in hot water, soaked in hot water prior. So check the back of your box, because many of us still have lids that did have to be soaked in hot water before we use them. Check the back of your box, then you'll know for sure. So I'm going to can up the rest of these, or I should say put the rest of these in a jar, and then I'll be back to talk to you for just a little bit more. All right, I ended up with 5 pints of peaches, which is great. But I want to show you one more little trick that I have here. So what did not fit into my jars was literally 5 slices of peach. So the first thing I'm going to do is obviously not waste that. And I'm going to go ahead and take those and put those aside, because I will eat those, or we will eat those, or somebody will eat those. But in the meantime, I have all this syrup, all this good syrup that still has peach in it. This is really good syrup to save for other things. I can use this for pancake syrup. I can use it to flavor ice cream. I can use it to flavor bread or yogurt or any number of things that I might want to do. So I'm simply going to take some of that good syrup, and I'm going to put that in a jar, and I'm going to can that. Because again, what I have is peach flavored syrup. And I will find some good uses for that, and it's too good to throw out. So if you have a little bit of extra, go ahead and use that. I don't need to debubble something here that is completely liquid, so I simply want to put a lid on that, and I wipe down. And again, always your screw band should be on there just finger tight, and I will put that in my canner. And I don't think I have another cup. I think I do have another cup. So I'm going to heat up one more jar and get that in there too. Stay tuned again. All right, so here's what I did to heat up this other jar. I had some hot water all ready to go because we're water bathing the peaches. So I simply filled my jar with hot water and let that sit for a couple of minutes. And I'm going to can this last little bit of syrup also, because it's, again, just too good to waste. So I'm going to fill that to about the 1-inch mark. I'm going to wipe off the rim, and then I'm going to have 2 jars of this peach syrup, which I promise I will have some kind of a video to let you know what I can do with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a band on that because I need to grab another one. I'm going to put the lid on that, and I'm going to get these in the pressure canner now for 25 minutes. So stay tuned. I have my 5 pints of peaches in there, plus my 2 pints of juice, syrup I should say. So when you're doing a water bath, try not to get it all over the place, you need to cover your jars by about 1 inch or 2 with boiling water. And that's really what I'm doing now. So I'm going to go ahead and add my other pot of water, and then I'm going to go ahead and seal this, and then I'll start the water bath timing for my 25 minutes. Be sure to follow the directions for your particular canner when you do this. My peaches canned beautifully. The lid's all sealed. The way you check your lids, to remember, is to just go ahead and push on it, and there should be no give. If there's any kind of give, you're not properly sealed, you'll either want to reprocess or put it in your refrigerator and use it within a few days. But my jars of peaches turned out great. They're nice and yellow. They're going to be great in my pantry. Definitely, I will enjoy these later this winter. I also have my 2 jars of peach flavored syrup, which really happened because I happen to have leftover syrup. But I'll be able to use this for syrup on pancakes. I'll be able to make peach fruit juice if I want to. I can use it to flavor yogurt or flavor breads. I can even use this to can more peaches if I was lucky enough to have those. So if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you liked the video, a thumbs up lets me know that you like this kind of video. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy your peaches if you're canning them. And I thank you for watching, and happy canning.